Good afternoon. My name is Mike Parks, P-A-R-K-E-S, Cal Fire, Sonoma Lake Napa Unit, and the incident commander for today's fire. About 9:27 last night, resources were dispatched to a reported vegetation fire in the area of the Geysers geothermal plant up on Geysers Road in the area of Geyserville, California. First arriving resources arrived at scene to find a large fire of a couple hundred acres already in size and with a rapid rate of spread, moving in multiple directions through different drainages up in rugged terrain. They quickly augmented their response, where we added additional CAL FIRE resources and reached out to our local government partners for additional help from them as well. The fire turned out to be fueled by what we believe to be about 60-mile-an-hour winds, plus or minus, and the terrain up there in that area is really rugged. Throughout the night, the fire continued to push wind-driven down toward the community of Geyserville in that general area, pushed down and surfaced in the Geyserville area sometime around 5:30 o'clock this morning. At that point, we initiated the evacuation order for the community of Geyserville along with the Sheriff's Office, working with the Sheriff's Office, and evacuate that community as well as other areas up above the fire area. We had augmented our dispatch for the weather of the time. We had additional helicopters on, additional personnel, additional engines, and our regional command center had added a night flying aircraft as well to be prepared in advance of this weather event that we saw coming. The fire is currently staffed by about 500 personnel from all numerous agencies from all the northern half of the state. We have approximately 8 air tankers assigned, and the VLAT is on its way now. The very large air tanker is on its way now. We expect the fire to grow. It is currently still at 10,000 acres. The acreage will adjust later on as we get better eyes on it throughout the day and have a better opportunity to map it. But the rugged terrain, the rapidly expanding incident, and the darkness last night made it tough to get a good, accurate picture of the amount of acreage. We are comfortable. It is probably at or above 10,000 acres. The number of structures, we do have some destroyed. We do not have an actual count on them yet. We have teams out on the field now surveying those structures to determine whether they were residences or general outbuildings. Once we get that confirmed, we will add that to our daily report. But as of right now, we cannot confirm or deny the number of residences that we have destroyed. That's all I have.
Speaking next on evacuations and closures will be Sonoma County Sheriff Essick.
Thank you. My name is Mark Essick. I'm the Sheriff of Sonoma County, and I'm here to provide an update on the law enforcement aspect of this event. Currently, we have about 100 law enforcement personnel assisting with the fire, and that is composed of the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office, the Santa Rosa Police Department through mutual aid, the California Highway Patrol through mutual aid, along with Fish and Wildlife and Sonoma County Animal Control. Those 100 law enforcement folks are working to make sure the evacuation area is clear, to assist residents in the area with their evacuations, and to maintain safety and order. The Sheriff's Office wants to acknowledge that this is an emotional time for many people. It's only been 2 years since the fires that devastated our community, and for many, this will be a very stressful and anxious time. Currently, as you've heard, approximately 10,000 acres have been burned with 0% containment. The Sheriff's Office has issued evacuation orders with our public safety partners, which cover approximately 2,000 people, or slightly fewer than 2,000 people, in the Geyserville area and in the hills east of Geyserville. We're asking people to please heed our evacuation order. We would like you to get out of the area so that public safety and fire can be in that area to fight fires and maintain control of the area. We know that many people feel better prepared and more prepared than they were 2 years ago. Many people have taken the time to prepare kits, prepare their homes for wildfire, but this is not the time to stay. This is the time to go. Please heed the evacuation order. There is an evacuation warning for the northern unincorporated area north of Healdsburg. So those people who live in the unincorporated area north of Healdsburg, you are under an evacuation warning. That means we want you to prepare to leave. We want you to gather your belongings and be prepared to leave in a moment's notice. Right now, our deputies are holding the evacuation lines. Once people leave the area, they will not be allowed back in. This is a very fast evolving situation. We're working with all of our partners, including CAL FIRE and other law enforcement agencies, to monitor the situation and add additional resources as needed. The Sheriff's Office is always here for the residents of Sonoma County. We want you to be alert and aware, and you can do that by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us on Nixle so that we can provide updates to you. The last thing I want to stress is take care of each other. We want you checking on your neighbors, particularly your neighbors who are elderly or may not be ambulatory. We want you to check on them and make sure they're okay. Neighbor helping neighbor is really what makes a difference in Sonoma County. Thank you.
Speaking next from the California Highway Patrol will be Captain Wolf.
Good afternoon. It's Captain Aristotle Wolf with the California Highway Patrol. I'm the commander of the Santa Rosa CHP area. The Highway Patrol is, as Sheriff Essex said, we are assisting with the law enforcement efforts here. Our main role currently is to maintain and monitor current closures on roadways and to check for the potential of upcoming or needed closures should they arise. Currently, we are holding locations on SR 128 at Alexander Valley Road and Lytton Springs. People are being turned to go back to Healdsburg. And on the east end, where 128 is closed at Pine Flat. We have contingencies and are prepared to close US 101 if that would be necessary, and we'd work with our Caltrans partners to do so. However, there is absolutely no indication at this time that we are going to need to do it, but we want to be ready. I would ask that commuters who travel these locations prepare accordingly. If you need to leave and travel south, or if you need to travel north, be prepared that if an emergency exists where you needed to close 101, you may have access denied. So please monitor our social media and the county's social media to keep up to date on that. I would also just like to add that the Highway Patrol is prepared to add more resources if needed. Right now, we are doing it with local resources, but we have statewide resources that we can always bring in. We have air units that can support in an observation or rescue capacity if needed. And I just lastly would like to speak to driving behavior. This is a trying time for everyone. It's a particularly emotional time for Sonoma County, as our memory has not faded from the last fire. People are particularly irritable behind the wheel of their car when they can't get where they're going or when they're delayed. This is not the time for that. This is the time for Sonoma to be strong as it has been in the past, pull together. If you're delayed, it's probably for a reason. And we can try to explain those reasons, but sometimes our officers are just told to hold an area because there's a firefighting or life-saving need, and we need you to accept that and make alternate plans. And that's the biggest thing. Take care of each other, plan for delays, and keep calm. So thank you very much.
Speaking next from the County of Sonoma, Supervisor Rabbitt.
Thank you. My name is David Rabbitt. I'm the chair of the Board of Supervisors, and certainly our thoughts are with the residents of the affected area here, as well as the entire county, as was mentioned a couple times. There is still a lot of trauma in Sonoma County from the fires of 2 years ago, and waking up to a day like today brings back a lot of memories. We also want to say thank you, obviously, to our partners, our first responders that are out there. We're out there all night. Those that will remain on the lines, and to all the help that we get from our local governments, our local fire departments. You know, this last Tuesday, the County of Sonoma proclaimed a local emergency for the red flag warning, as well as the public safety power shutoff. There were pre-positioned resources, 3 strike teams, 15 additional engines within the county. I think that because we took those additional precautions working into this particular event, we had people in the right places moving forward. But of course, with the winds the way they were and the way that they will continue, obviously, to be for a little while, at least through this weekend, we remain vigilant. I do ask everyone to take care of one another, watch out for one another, and to certainly heed all orders, evacuation orders especially, about making sure that you get yourself out of danger's way. Stay safe. And thank you.
I'll now open it up for questions and answers. If we could just start with fire questions first, and we can bring the chief back up for those. Sure, I'll let Chief Parks answer that.
The winds have died down considerably, but because of the winds last night, we're not able to get resources all the way around the fire like we would have. So there's still, as when we say 0% containment, that means there's no containment and very little actually direct line on the fire. So while the conditions are better, because of the terrain and the fuel conditions we're still experiencing, and the heat and the lower humidities which we normally would have for this time of year, the containment is still very challenging. We're still always concerned about the north wind. That's always the drier pattern. So and that is pushing it toward the town of Geislerville. So that is our first priority. And after that are the flanks going back toward the Geysers geothermal plant. It is right on the outskirts, if you will. Thank you.
All right, we'll go to questions for law enforcement now about evacuations or closures. Any questions for law enforcement? Yeah, no reported injuries yet. Sure.
At this time, cause is still totally under investigation. We have not even begun that process yet. I don't know. We still treat all power lines like they're live, even in the power shutdown area. So I couldn't tell you if that was one of the areas that was in the shutoff area or not. Not necessarily. The wind speeds, if we're at 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that is not I'm not giving that as a fact. That's what I've been told, and I believe that to be true based on the conditions I experienced. Our aircraft cannot drop in those kind of winds anyway. So fixed wing or helicopters. So that wouldn't have made a big difference. Just when you have that kind of wind speed, similar to what we had 2 years ago, the resistance to control is just at a level that's well beyond our capabilities. As the supervisor mentioned, the local county alone had upstaffed upwards of 15 engines. The local CAL FIRE unit had upstaffed engines and resources. We had additional aircraft on anyway, and still the fire had that kind of a head start on us with the fuels and the lower humidities and the wind speed pushing it behind us. Aircraft are dropping on today. Their challenge today is because you don't have enough wind speed, the visibility becomes challenging. As you can see behind us, the smoke lays in, and so sometimes the helicopters can't get as low as they'd like to. But different parts of the fire have different areas of visibility, so the aircraft are working at this very moment all the parts of the fire that they can. And as I just mentioned, they also ordered the very large air tanker from Southern California to come up because they find an area that it can work. It should probably be here about now, but they ordered. It takes just a very short flight time from Southern California.
There's some high winds forecast for Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Yes.
Is it kind of imperative that you knock this out as best you can in the next day or two?
Imperative is a very accurate term. Yes, for just that reason. Yeah, we are very worried. We're very concerned about the currently projected weather conditions coming this weekend, which are by our forecast looking to be the same or worse than what we just experienced. Yes, we have firefighters from all over the northern half of the state and possibly even the southern half. I just don't have the exact departments. But yes, we're looking at over 500 firefighters, and how many different agencies, I don't know. Just multiple from all throughout the state. The sheriff and I have talked earlier, and we are estimating approximately 2,000. For the specifics on that, I'll turn it over to the sheriff.
Thank you. So to answer the question about evacuations, there are currently about 2,000 people that are under evacuation orders. That doesn't mean that all those people have evacuated. And that was kind of the point that I was trying to get to earlier, which is although you may feel prepared, you may feel better situated than you were 2 years ago, we still ask you to heed the evacuation orders and get out. We have had some trouble with folks not wanting to evacuate. We're going door to door. We're knocking on doors, checking with everyone that we can, and we have had some resistance. And I really want to stress and emphasize to those people that in order for us to do our job and to allow CAL FIRE and other fire partners to do their job, we really need to clear the area so it's safe. It helps us fight the fire. rather than have to worry about rescuing someone from their home.
Okay, are there any further questions? Yeah, good question. We do have someone for Spanish. Melissa, if you raise your hand, is right here. You can speak one-on-one with her at the conclusion of this press conference. For the sheriff.
So far, the current power shutoff has not affected our ability to evacuate people. One of the great things that the sheriff's office learned from the past fires is to have multiple ways to communicate with people, and we're using all of our platforms. As I mentioned earlier, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're also using Nixle. We're using our radio partners and our media partners such as you. You will also, I failed to mention earlier, you will also hear deputies in the evacuation zone using the high-low siren. The high-low siren sounds something like a European police siren. That is a signal and a warning to residents. If you hear that, that means there's an evacuation order in your area. You should certainly tune in to media and find out what's going on, what the evacuation is about. That high-low siren is our best way to notify you in the field of an emergency.
Sheriff, did you just push out an alert, like an Amber alert or anything like that?
You may have something I don't have. I mean, just now? It just happened just now?
No.
Oh.
Did you last night?
Yes, we've been working through the County of Sonoma's Emergency Operations Center to push out alerts throughout the night, yes.
No, it wasn't be like an opt-in. Just everyone who has a cell phone will get the message.
My understanding is yes, there was a push out last night.
Okay, if I don't have any further questions, everyone up here, including a representative from the Red Cross, will be available for one-on-ones. You can expect the next incident update about the entire incident at 7 p.m. tonight. CAL FIRE, CHP, Sonoma County Sheriffs, all their social media accounts will be available for that information. This concludes the 12 o'clock press conference. Thank you for joining us.